Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that the bill be read a second time. Mr. Speaker, it is an honour for me to put forward a bill that has at its heart the heart of our democracy. Power should reside with the people, Mr. Speaker. In proposing this bill, I speak for many in this House, but I speak for millions more outside of this place. So I give way to my honourable friend.
I thank my honourable friend for giving way. It is regrettable that the member for Doncaster North is not on the benches opposite. Has my honourable friend had representations from the leader of the Labour Party, Len McCluskey, on what he thinks the position of the Labour Party should be on this very important issue?
Well, I thank my honourable friend for that very ingenious intervention. I have not yet heard from Mr McCluskey, but I am sure that when the Labour Party has actually decided what their position on giving the British people a say on our relationship with the European Union is, they will let us know. In proposing this bill, as I say, I speak for many here, I speak for many millions outside, because it was in 1975, of course, that a Labour government gave the British people a say on our membership of the then European community. How things have changed, Mr. Speaker. How things have changed. Politics has moved on and the European Union has moved on. I'll give way to the honourable member.
In 1971, I voted against the then common market and I voted for a referendum in 1975. Sadly, the country didn't follow my advice. Or we wouldn't be doing what we're doing here today. However, there's one thing deficient in this bill. It doesn't ask for a referendum until 2017. What we need is a referendum before the next election. Will he give that guarantee?
I, for the first time, find myself at least agreeing with part of the honourable member's comments. I do wish more people had listened to him in 1975, but I'm sorry they're not going to now. As I will explore in my comments today, it is important that we secure the best possible deal from the European Union and put a real choice to the British people, and it is sensible that we set a time frame within which that must be done. That is what this bill does, and that is why I am bringing it forward. I give way to my honourable friend.
Thank you very much. Completely congratulate, thank you Mr Speaker, my honourable friend for securing this debate. Secondly, I totally agree with him, and I think that probably he will explore a bit later why it's so important that this will reinforce the hand of our marvellous Prime Minister in negotiating with Europe and then giving the public a say. The public deserve a say.
Well, my honourable friend is of course absolutely right. This is about giving the public a real say, a real choice between a best possible deal we can get from the European Union and, if the public so choose, to leave if that is what they want to do. That is what we on this side are offering the British public. I think that members on the other side should consider their position very carefully indeed, because at the next election the public will not forgive members who do not trust them. I want to make a little progress and then I will give way. There is, of course, and we can see it already, Mr. Speaker, there is a debate to be had about whether our national interest is best served by being inside the European Union or by coming out. That debate, though, Mr. Speaker, is not for today. This is a debate about the bill that is before.
The member is not at the moment giving way. I think that's clear. James Wharton.
Speaker. This is a debate about the bill that I'm bringing forward and which I am proud to bring forward. The community that we joined in all those years ago, Mr. Speaker, was primarily one of free trade. Though aspects of it, even then, I give way to my honourable friend.
Agree with me that in 1974 it was the first time I ever voted, and my son and daughter have never had the choice about making that democratic decision, and that's what we should be doing today. That's why I've sponsored the bill with my honourable friend.
I agree with my honourable friend, and she was lucky if she had the opportunity to vote. I was, as one honourable member whispered in my ear as she made her contribution, but a twinkle in an eye at that time. I did not have that opportunity to vote. And I give way to my honourable friend.
Giving way. Does my honourable friend agree with me that any party that doesn't trust the British people does not deserve the trust of the British people?
my honourable friend will be staggered, I'm sure, to find, of course I agree with him. But what matters is not that I agree with him, it's that the people who are watching this debate, who care about this issue, who want to have their say, the great British people agree with him, and they will make their views very clear come the next session. I give way to my honourable friend.
Does my honourable friend agree that one of the most important reasons for this bill has already been made, which is that a whole generation have not had a chance to have a say, but that there is a second reason, which is that the EU is a fundamentally different creature from the one on which we voted in 1975. And it's on that issue that the country must have a say.
Exactly. That is absolutely right. That is a fundamental point. The European community that the British people voted to be a part of in 1975 is not the same as the European Union of today. I will give way, but I do want to make some progress.
I'm very grateful to the honourable gentleman for giving way. He's making his points more usefully than some of his whips have done so far. But could I ask him, is he aware of the fact, you can calm down, is he aware of the fact that 40% of UK exports go to the EU tariff-free, and that business leaders in this country have said that it would be dangerously destabilising if that referendum were to go ahead? Does he think...
Order! There needs to be... Order! The honourable gentleman should resume his seat. There needs to be rather more calm in the chamber. Interventions need to be shorter. And I would point out that well over 40 colleagues want to speak. I want all of them to do so. They've got an interest in minimising the noise level and maximising the progress. Mr Gordon Marsden, brief.
Yes. Does he think that it's in the interests of this country that we should have 4 years of uncertainty for business from his bill?
The honourable member read his intervention very well, but I think the reality is the British people deserve a say on this, and they deserve a say on and to be given a real choice. They should be given a choice between the best possible relationship with the European Union that we can offer and of leaving if that is what they choose to do. I'll give way, but then I want to make some progress.
I'm most grateful to the honourable gentleman for giving way, and obviously think he's done a great job in coming up with this idea for a bill. But can he say whether or not he's had an opportunity to talk to representatives from our territory of Gibraltar about the impact on them, and whether he plans to give them a say in this referendum?
Well, the honourable member raises an interesting point, because being, as he is, despite being a young and new MP just as I am, he knows very well that parliamentary procedure is one of the greatest challenges that this bill will face. And were it drawn a large and complex bill, it would be easier for him and his colleagues to slow its progress and wreck the chances of it getting through and delivering what the British people want. So whilst I hear what he's saying, and I know that he is deeply concerned about anything that will allow him at later stages, should this bill go forward today, Mr. Speaker, to slow it down and bog it down in parliamentary procedure, I hope that he will resist the temptation and will allow us to get it through so that his constituents and mine can vote whichever way they want and to have their choice and their say on such a fundamental issue. But I do want to make some progress, Mr. Speaker. We have already discussed that the European community is not the same as the European Union. What we joined has changed. Those who voted yes in 1975 believed they had bought a ticket to a clear and certain destination, to a free trade area that would benefit Britain's economy without undermining our sovereignty. They did not buy a ticket for a never-ending journey to ever closer union, destination unknown. I give way to my honourable friend.
I thank my honourable friend, and may I congratulate him on this excellent bill. Would he agree with me that we've heard from a lot of businesses in the form of Business for Britain who have said that businesses in this country also want to see the terms of our membership of the EU renegotiated, and they also believe that finally giving the public a vote on this massive issue will actually create more stability than there is at the moment?
My honourable friend is absolutely right. There are hundreds of businesses who support the campaign for a say on our membership of the European Union. But an important point about this bill, and I should make this clear to members on all sides, I am not stood here today putting an argument that we should be in or that we should be out. I am putting forward an argument that we should trust the British people to make that decision and have a say. I give way to my honourable friend.
Mr. Speaker, I must make clear, I regret this, that I disagree with my honourable friend. He is quite wrong to say that the party opposite hasn't made up its mind. They are quite clear. They don't believe in a referendum. They don't believe in renegotiating in Europe to get a better deal for this country. And most of all, they don't believe, and they've made this absolutely clear in my mind, they don't believe in giving the British people a say.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I am the eternal optimist. It may appear that the party opposite is united against the British people and refusing them. But I do not believe that is true. I believe that at least, a substantial number of them are split. They know that the people need to have a say on this important issue. And even though their leader has chosen not to be here and lead them today, I hope he will summon up the strength in the future to take a firm position and will back this bill. I give way to my right honourable friend.
I'm grateful to the honourable gentleman giving way. When we joined the European community,
That might have been what usual.
It certainly was that. It certainly was that, in that we thought we were joining a union which would increase economic prosperity and give even greater political stability.
It has done.
We cannot now actually say that to new members.
Not true.
Given that there is real economic problems within the European community, and that as things are going on, not far distant countries, but after their next elections, there will probably be serious fascist representation in France, in Spain, and in Italy. Is it not just in the interest of this country for the Prime Minister seriously to renegotiate, but in the interest of the whole of Europe?
Right honourable member is absolutely right. We are talking about a European Union that is changing before our eyes, that no one knows where it will be in a few years' time. It is absolutely the right approach that rather than rush headlong now to make a decision, we should negotiate to get the right deal, to understand what a future membership of the European Union would mean, and whatever the result of that process and whatever that understanding might be, ultimately it must be put to the British people so they can choose whether to give their consent and renew their consent to membership or to withdraw it. That is what we must do, and it is why we are here today. I give way to my honourable friend.
I'm very grateful for him giving way, congratulating on securing this bill today. Neither him nor myself were alive at the time of the last referendum on the EU, and we are now sat here in this House as MPs. Doesn't he agree with me that it's high time that our generation had a say on our membership of the European Union?
My honourable friend is absolutely right. We have generations of people who have not had a say, and we have generations of people who, when they had their say, voted for something which is not what exists today. Taken together, the significance of the changes we have seen to the European Union and the length of time since the British people gave their consent in that original vote are significant. They make the case for a fresh referendum on the face of it, an obvious one and one that should be supported. The times have changed. The European Union has changed, Mr. Speaker, and public sentiment has changed. It is time we had a referendum. It's time we gave them a choice. That is why we are here, and I give way to the honourable member.
I voted enthusiastically yes in the 70s, and I can't imagine any circumstance in which I wouldn't vote yes in any future referendum. Why do we need this bill? Why do we need this bill when we have already legislated for a referendum anyway? And when I hope his constituents, like mine, believe the priorities are jobs and growth and investment, and not putting the whole of the European investment links at risk for the next few years.
It never ceases to amaze me, Mr. Speaker, and I hope that my colleagues who are on the government benches will allow me this indulgence, but it never ceases to amaze me how the Liberal Democrats change their position as the wind blows. And on this important matter, Liberal Democrat MPs campaigned at the last election to offer the British people a referendum. They have now changed their mind because it looks a real prospect. I hope they may change their mind again and agree with what some of us are trying to achieve. I give way to
Following on from the comments of the Right Honourable Gentleman for Southwark, I think it must be made clear and important that though this bill is not put forward just by those who are inherently Eurosceptic,
There are many of us who campaigned vigorously in the 1975 referendum for our entry into the European...
So, order! Order! Can I just say to the honourable gentleman, though, it's very appealing to look at the back of the honourable gentleman's suit. Very appealing indeed. It would be quite nice actually to be able to see his face.
Apologise, Mr. Speaker. There are many of us who campaigned for Britain, yes to Britain, in the 1975 referendum campaign. But to paraphrase Goethe, that which thy forefathers bequeathed thee, one must earn anew if you want to possess it. And there comes a point where one has to demonstrate the wholehearted consent of the British people to our membership of the European Union if it is to be valid for us and for them, and importantly, for the whole of the European community.
Well, we perhaps come at this from a different angle, but I think we reach the same conclusion, Mr. Speaker, and it is welcome that we do so. I want to make a little more progress, if I may. We know the European Union has changed from the European community that was voted on in 1975. We know that generations did not get a choice, but what of the question of having a referendum itself? This was once seen to be alien to the British political system. It wasn't what we did. Well, Mr. Speaker, I would contend that we live in the age of the referendum. We have had referendums on whether Scotland should have its parliament, whether Wales should have its assembly, on the alternative vote. We had a referendum, Mr. Speaker, on whether we should have a regional assembly for the north east of England. And my honourable friend, the member for Harwich and North Essex, came up to the north east and campaigned in that referendum. He campaigned against. He was remarkably successful. I would like to give him the chance to campaign in a referendum again, not on an issue of regional government, but on one of national government that affects us all, and I'll give way to the honourable member.
The honourable gentleman for giving way. On the subject of consistency within the coalition, which he just mentioned, we both voted, the honourable gentleman and I both voted for the European Union Act 2011 only 2 years ago. I'm still happy with it, is he?
Yes. And yes, I am. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is important, when we look at referendums, to understand what they mean. They go to the heart of what democracy is about. They go to the heart of giving the British people their say on fundamental matters of importance. I give way to my honourable friend.
I'm grateful to my honourable friend for giving way and for his excellent bill. Could I ask him, which does he think that the British public will trust? The last government who refused to give us a referendum on the Lisbon Treaty, or this government that has vetoed an EU treaty, that has cut the EU budget, that has passed the EU sovereignty bill, and has given us an in-out referendum?
My honourable friend makes an important and valid observation. It appears that the leader of the opposition does not even trust his own party, because he cannot lead them one way or the other on this important matter, but he has ordered them to run away from the debate. I give way to honourable lady.
I thank the honourable gentleman for giving way, and I would want to point out that it is important to recognise that the majority of Labour voters in the country want to see a referendum.
The honourable lady is of course right. We know that the majority of people in this country want a referendum, and I would extend to her on this issue the hand of cross-party cooperation and friendship, and to any of her colleagues who would like to join in what we're trying to do to deliver that say, not just for Labour voters, not just for Conservative voters, but for everyone, whether they believe we should be in the European Union or we should leave it. I give way to the honourable member.
I'm very grateful to the honourable gentleman for giving way. On the subject of cross-party activities, I was keen to follow the example of Margaret Thatcher in 1975 and vote enthusiastically for Europe, and I will do so again. However, is the honourable gentleman aware that the late Baroness Thatcher happily quoted Clement Attlee's comment that referendums are devices of demagogues and dictators?
I had forgotten the honourable member's record of having voted against every referendum brought forward by the previous government. It had slipped my mind that he had such a distinguished and principled position on this matter. However, we must also, of course, recognise that things change, which is why, in my earlier comments, not long into my speech today, I said that we are in the age of the referendum. We have had so many referendums on so many things. It would seem farcical to then try to deny the referendum on such an important thing that matters to so many people. I give way to my honourable friend. And I will...
to my honourable friend, and perhaps I may be able to just inform him that, thankfully to that well-known vestige of information, Guido Fawkes, we have here the Labour Party briefing, which says Labour does not support this bill. This is a Conservative Party bill that sets out the Tory party's position, which we are opposed to.
Well, I thank my honourable friend. He has made clearer the position of the Labour Party than the Leader of the Opposition has yet managed to do, and I think there may be a vacancy there for him soon if he were to choose to apply to it. I give way to my honourable friend.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It might help my honourable friend who's doing a wonderful job here. If I could just read something that was put out by the Liberal Democrats at the last election, where they said the reason for giving a real referendum was because it was over 30 years since the British people last had a vote. And although they wanted to campaign to stay in, they firmly believed that length of time justified having the referendum.
I thank the honourable lady, and I think it leads me neatly on to the next point that I would want to make, which is that I have no objection to those who would want to campaign to stay in a referendum, just as I could have no objection to those who would want to fight to come out. I do, though, wonder at a democratically elected Member of Parliament who would seek to deny the British people that choice. That is the fundamental area of disagreement, and beyond that I am sure we can reach across parties to find agreement and deliver a bill that is so important and long overdue. My honourable friend.
Grateful to one of them for giving way, and I congratulate him on this excellent bill. But I just have learnt that the leader of the Labour Party has apparently cancelled an engagement today, and he's not in the House. Does my honourable friend think that he's sitting at home Buddha-like, contemplating whether to give the British people a say?
I thank my honourable friend for that intervention. The Buddha-like qualities of the Leader of the Opposition are well known as of late. However, I would not choose to speculate what he is doing. It may be something to do with the unions, it may be something to do with the television, it certainly isn't something to do with leading his party in the right direction. I give way to the honourable member.
I thank the honourable gentleman for giving way. A majority of my constituents appear to agree with me rather than the Prime Minister that the problem with Europe is that there's too much labour market flexibility and that people are coming in and taking jobs here. Would he, in the renegotiations, agree with me and my constituents that we need to have less flexibility and remove this labour market flexibility in Europe, or would he agree with the Prime Minister that what's needed in renegotiation is more free flow of labour?
I am delighted that the honourable member sees the value in a renegotiation and in getting a new deal. We may disagree on what that deal should look like, but his support is much appreciated, and I hope he will back this bill so that he can campaign for it when we get it. I give way to the lady.
Angela. Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I congratulate my honourable friend on bringing forward this bill? Does he agree with me that at its heart lies the issue of trust? That is what this is about. The parties that trust the British people will support this, and parties that don't trust the British people will not support it.
Well, my honourable friend is absolutely right, and I said, Mr. Speaker, that I did not mind whether people wanted to campaign to be in or out. I do not seek to influence in this debate and this bill how the British people might vote. What I believe is that we must give them a say. I give way to the honourable lady.
Most grateful to my honourable friend. Does he agree with me that Europe is in a very volatile state at the moment? The Eurozone is in an even more volatile state. Between now and 2017, there will be vigorous negotiations to try to repatriate powers which are best dealt with in our own country. By 2017, the public will be able to see how successful or not those negotiations have been and to make an informed decision.
He's absolutely right, and this takes us to one, of course, of the key points of the bill, is that the bill makes provision for a referendum by the end of 2017. I believe it is right that we should look to secure that better deal. that we should go to Europe and negotiate a settlement that is better and more suitably in the British interest. I believe it is possible to do that, Mr. Speaker. There are those that say it cannot be done. There are those that say it cannot be done. But I believe the reality is that the Germans will want to continue selling us cars and the French will want to continue selling us wine, just as much as we want to continue to trade with them. I think a deal can be achieved and it could be a great improvement. I give way to the honourable gentleman.
I thank the honourable gentleman for giving way. I notice he hasn't answered my honourable friend from Bolsover. Why can't we have a referendum next year, and why isn't the Prime Minister leading this debate?
As I was explaining, Mr. Speaker, I believe that we need to put a real choice before the British people between a Europe that is the best possible Europe we can get and coming out if that is what they choose to do. I believe that that can be delivered. I believe we can return powers. I think we can renegotiate. I think we can get a better deal. But I also think it would be to cheat the British people, to deprive them of the opportunity to benefit from that better deal. This is about serious politics, Mr. Speaker. It's about delivering a real choice, not just playing party political games, as some members seem keen to do. I give way to my well friend.
I'm very grateful for my honourable friend for bringing this bill, and he talks about serious politics. Does he not agree with me that members particularly opposite, and indeed some just below us, say one thing in this chamber and another in their constituencies, demonstrating that they are not serious politicians, they are not serious about a bill, and it's only us and the honourable member who are going to make sure that happens?
I thank my honourable friend. Again, Mr. Speaker, I will endeavour to be generous in my interpretation, excluding our Liberal Democrat colleagues who often say one thing in one place and another in another. Honourable members opposite are not consistent within their party, but I am sure they are consistent as individuals within themselves. And the truth is that the Labour Party is split down the middle on this issue because they know the British people want a say and deserve a say, but their leader is too weak to lead and he refuses to offer it and offer direction for them. I give way to the honourable friend.
I thank my honourable friend for giving way, and with one or two, thank you, Mr. Speaker, with one or two honourable exceptions opposite, does he share my shock at the mocking of this bill from members opposite, who are the people who are supposed to represent the very communities, such as mine in Goole, who have been most affected by uncontrolled EU immigration, who have been most affected by our membership of the European Union? It is those people who want to say, and it is those people members opposite are mocking today.
My honourable friend makes the important point. It is often those people, and the honourable lady alluded to it earlier, there are as many Labour voters and supporters who want this bill to succeed as there are Conservatives. This matters across the political divide, and that is why I welcome those honourable members of whatever party on the benches opposite who have said that they support what we are trying to do, and I am grateful to the Prime Minister and the leadership of the Conservative Party for getting full square behind what we are trying to deliver. I think this is something, Mr. Speaker, that should unite the nation in agreement that we trust the British people and we want to give them a voice. I give way to the honourable member.
The honourable gentleman, thank you, Mr. Speaker. The honourable gentleman has been very generous in giving way. On the matters of substance referred to by his honourable friend on the bench behind him, could I ask him whether he'd make clear his position on whether the EU has gone too far in protecting the employment rights of the workers in his constituency and mine?
I believe that more of what is done by the EU should be done by this Parliament and in this place and by the British people. And it would be for the British people to decide what they want to be legislated on, who they want to support and who they want their government to be. Mr. Speaker, for many years and under different parties, our leaders have disappeared off into Europe. They have returned to this House and they have then presented their failures or successes. Invariably, whatever has happened, it is presented as a success, and this House has had its say on those measures. But the British people have not been given a say. They have not been given a say in over a generation. I think it is time that they were. I want a British Prime Minister that goes to Europe to negotiate, not to come back just to this House and present what they have done, but to present what they have done to the British people so that they can finally decide. I give way to the honourable member.
On immigration. I thank the honourable for giving way, and I support his bill. Would he like? Would he like to explain to the workers of Greece and Spain about workers' rights in those countries?
Thank the honourable member for that intervention. I suspect the workers of Greece and Spain would welcome a referendum just as the workers in the UK would, and I hope perhaps they might get one. But, Mr. Speaker, I must make progress, and I do want to draw to a conclusion. I give way to my honourable friend.
Very grateful, and
I absolutely support my honourable friend in what he's doing. He's doing a massive service not just to this Parliament but also to the country as a whole. But can I suggest one improvement to the bill, which I think would find favour with the Prime Minister as well, in the question that I asked him recently? Would it be his intention that if the British people voted to come out of the European Union in a referendum, that would then be that? And we would not have the usual European Union tactic of having another referendum and another referendum until they get the result they want. Perhaps it might be better to make that clear on the face of the bill that if a vote was to come out of the European Union, that would be that.
I welcome the honourable gentleman's intervention, and I have no doubt at all that whoever was Prime Minister at the time, and I'm confident it will be the Prime Minister we have now, whoever it is, would be unable to defy a vote of the British people in a free, fair referendum with a proper debate, would, if the British people voted to come out, ensure that that happened. I am conscious, though, and it's a point that has come up earlier, this is a private member's bill. It has limited time. Any amendments, any changes, anything that lengthens it will give those minority of members who wish to wreck it not by force of democratic argument but by misuse of parliamentary procedure too much opportunity to do so. And so I would resist further amendment whilst understanding and sympathising with the important comments that my honourable friend made. Many honourable... I'll give way to my honourable friend, but then I must make progress.
I'm grateful to him for giving way. Would he agree with me that what irks the people of this nation more than anything else is the democratic deficit that exists in the EU, and that has been strengthened time after time by the treaties that members opposite signed up to, and his bill will restore that democratic deficit by giving the British people the trust.
My honourable friend makes a very important point. We all know in this place, Mr. Speaker, that the great British public's level of trust in politicians of all parties is not at its highest level. We need to restore that trust by engaging with and giving a choice.
I hope it is a point of order rather than a point of frustration. But
it is not. In answer to an intervention, the honourable member said that members of this House who put amendments to his bill would be misusing parliamentary procedure. He said it would be misuse. And I would like your clarification, Mr. Speaker. It would be perfectly in order, would it not, for any member of this House to put many amendments to this bill if it gets its second reading.
The situation that the honourable gentleman describes in his point of order will arise if the bill gets a second reading. What I would say is I heard what the honourable gentleman said, and I think, if I may say so, and I do, it's a point of debate. That's what it's about. The honourable gentleman was making a point of debate to which others can respond if they wish. Mr. James Wharton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, many honourable members in this place have made the case and raised their concerns about our relationship with the European Union over many years. I am pleased standing here today to speak for them, to those who've dedicated countless hours to pursuing the cause of democracy and holding the European Union and our relationship with it to account. In bringing this forward, though, Mr. Speaker, I don't bring it forward as a private member's bill just for me, for the Conservative Party, for my colleagues. I'm bringing it forward for the people as a whole. I hope, therefore, that we can drive it forward and make it a success. I'll give way to the Honourable Lady.
I'm very grateful. There has been a tendency that the trust in the people seems to wane when a party gets into government. And given that the private members' bills is a rather precocious creature that could be easily killed, if it's so important and if the party opposite trusts the people, why can't we have that trust expressed before 2015 but have to wait till 2017?
I thank the Honourable Lady's intervention. Of course, one of the challenges that this bill faces, which is the reason it is a private member's bill and the reality of the parliamentary dynamic which she observes exists, is that the government includes not just Conservative members but Liberal Democrats who have gone back on their manifesto pledge and do not want to support it and, sadly, despite my best efforts to persuade them, will not as yet give it government time. I give way to my honourable friend.
I commend my honourable friend for putting this bill forward. He is doing a great service to our nation. Does he agree with me that we should have listened to Mrs Thatcher years ago on this subject and rejected political union?
My honourable friend has a consistent and principled track record on this matter, which this House, I'm sure, recognises and appreciates, and his contribution is a helpful one and reminds us of the historic reality within which we are operating. There have been many members over the years who have warned about what was happening in the European Union, and yet those warnings have not always been heeded. This bill is about keeping good the central promise of our democracy, that we are the servants of the people and not their masters. We want to give the people a voice Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was born and raised in Stockton-on-Tees, the town that I am now proud to represent in this place. I am proud also to be presenting this bill, which will give not just the people of Stockton, but the people of the United Kingdom.
Is developing his argument, and I think it is clear, very clear to the honourable member, that Mr Wharton is not currently giving way. James Wharton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am proud to represent the people of Stockton in this matter, but also the people of this country as a whole. It is about time we gave those millions of British people who want to say the chance to do so, from Stockton and beyond. This is a bill, Mr. Speaker, that would legislate for that, give them confidence that they will get their say and that it will be at the right time and in the right way. We have a chance to give the British people a voice through this bill, Mr. Speaker, and I commend it to the House.
Order. The question is that the bill be now read a second time. Mr Douglas Alexander.